But it did happen that I was able to arrange to see some coworkers. I did square away of the week. I squared away 2 days to do stuff with coworkers who could be in the area. And that was really exciting. So the first day we went to an escape room. I think you've heard about that. And we had a nice dinner. I think that was not my swag crisis day, but I did have a swag crisis over the same group. It was the same people both days. But yeah, if you haven't heard yet, I saw Shu Yaminer. Keep an eye out for Yaminer. That's pretty cool, right? And I saw Uki Vleta. Super exciting, right? I saw Bear Vermilion. Whoa. Oh my gosh. And I saw Zeal Joker. Yeah, your president, Uki. I met them. I met them this last week. It was so exciting. So first impressions. Yeah, I'm sure you want to hear that, right? That's the part of the secret offline interactions that are fun for you, right? Hearing about what we thought of each other. So I'll fully indulge you. So Shuya Miner, he had honestly exactly the vibes I expected from him going into it. I feel like he's the kind of person that, how do I phrase this? You probably get this vibe from watching him if you are a Yaminian. #represent. He has this personality trait where it's like, he's just real. He just says and does what he wants and he's chill like that. You know what I mean? So if he wants to be goofy, he's just going to be goofy. Just very, very comfy, chill vibes. Very fun. I feel like I walked away from hanging out with Shu a little bit worse though, because he's kind of opened my eyes a little bit to the value of 6-7. I know. I used to be radically against 6-7 as a whole, but after walking around and hanging out with Shu Yamino, I still don't like 6-7 out loud. I hate saying it and I hate hearing it. Like, I specifically hate when people are like 6-7. I hate that. However, whenever you hear 6-7 in a natural context, like in a very normal sentence, like, yeah, we could walk like 6 or 7 minutes to be there. If you hear that, rather than saying it, I think doing the hand motion, like where you juggle your hands up and down, I think that's really funny. I think that's still in for a good month, but I didn't think that until I hung out with Shu, so. I'm sure you like to hear about fashion too, right? I'm really into that, and it's something that it's not something that I think you should judge or profile anybody based on. It is something I like to pay attention to because it's a way that you express yourself, right? I think Shu's fashion choices are very consistent with his personality, as I've just described, right? He's very chill, very comfy. He just had a very chill look. I'm trying to think of how best to describe this. Basic. I say basic, but not in a negative way. Do you know what I mean? Like essentials. I think he was prone to essentials. Like nothing too flashy. Pants and a nice coat. You know the vibe? Yeah, that's Shu Yaminer. Yeah, a little minimalist maybe, but not in the traditional sense of the word minimalist, because that is a separate fashion niche, and it's not exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm not talking about minimalist design, but just a bit of a minimalist approach. Comfy maxing. Ver said college student. Yeah, I could see that vibe. Just of, he's just doing what he's going to do. He's just chilling. He's Shu Yamino. You know what I mean? He's stylish, but in a way that doesn't look like he's trying to be stylish. Do you know what I mean? Like, it looks nice, but it doesn't look like he's bothered by what other people are thinking of it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I was really, really happy to meet Shu. I've been looking forward to that for a while. Then we have Uki Vleta, the debonair president. Recently elected, I guess. Or would you say elected or appointed, maybe? Because I don't know if you ran a formal election or anything to put them in a seat of power, or if it was just kind of established randomly, but yeah, I met Uki. I've been excited for that. That was actually something that we had talked about a couple times before. Not that like it was ever something we were planning previously. It was more just like they said something really sweet to me actually at one point, and it stuck with me, and I don't know if I want to share it or not, but I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to, and I think they wouldn't mind. They told me at one point that they were not usually the type to be very like touchy, but that they would not mind hugging me if we met. And that made me happy because I'm a big hugger. I can actually be very touchy when it comes to things like that. So smiles. I got my hug. But yeah, Uki is very, honestly, same as Shu. I feel like it's exactly what you expect watching them on stream. I think Uki is very chill, very relaxing to be around, very comforting vibes. And Uki was also kind of like actually my mother, if that makes sense, during the trip, because you may know this about me already. I've got very, very poor navigational skills. I'm really, really bad at finding my way around, especially in like civilization. So I get really, really lost. And they were very, very helpful in, guiding me where I needed to go. And honestly, when we were traveling and getting where we needed to go as a group, they were kind of almost consistently leading the charge. Like they knew where we were going to go. They knew exactly which way to take to get there. And we were always there on time. As far as fashion, I feel like I don't need to say anything, right? Yeah, no, I think we got a little mogged. I'm not gonna lie. I was actually kind of intimidated. I will be totally honest with you. I had my swag crisis on day 2 because the outfit that I wore for day 1 was one that I planned when I was packing. So you didn't get to witness that swag crisis. But my swag crisis was at least 70% motivated by the fact that I was gonna see Uki Vleta. Because I know they're very stylish, right? But yeah, to put a word to their style, I think is what I was going to say. I think it would be very... they have kind of something that's typical of, I would say, East Asian street fashion subcultures. I want to say modern street fashion, last 5 years. Very trendy, very in, very stylish, but leaning comfy, leaning kind of loose. Nothing too tight, nothing too restrictive. I think that's the best way that I would describe it. Maybe specifically Korean street fashion would be a more accurate descriptor because there are slight nuances. I think very typical of what you might... man, the fashion world is so convoluted and complex. It's kind of difficult to put the right words to it. Very, very well put together and very, very clean. Yeah, like I said, I was low-key intimidated. And then we get to Vermilion. I met him as well. Oh my gosh, he was so sweet. It's kind of interesting. I feel like when it comes to the vibes for him on stream versus off stream, he's the first one where I almost want to call out a slight gap. Because I feel like on stream he's a bit mischievous. Dare I say mischievous? Dare I say a little bit of a troublemaker? Maybe troublemaker is a bit away from the word I'm looking for. He has this vibe on stream, I feel, where he's kind of like he's a teaser and he'll say something crazy and then be like, oh, JK. You know what I mean? Like he'll say something and then immediately take it back because it's crazy and it's a joke. I feel like in person he can be a lot more like sweet and doting. Is what I would say. Maybe it's just my perspective though, my biased perspective. I feel like for me at least, he read throughout the trip as kind of like looking out for others. You're just making sure everybody's on the same page. He was very comforting to be around, I will say. I was very happy that I could properly meet him. He called me cute. What? Did he say I was cute? When? Where? When did he say that? Tell me everything he said about me right now. He called me a sweetheart? A cutie pie? Yeah. He wanted to hug me? Well, we did get a hug in. Man, if I knew that, I would have given him more. I tend to be a bit shy about asking for hugs because I know not everybody likes them. Anyway, about his fashion, I feel like he may not have been the best reference for like what to tell you as far as fashion goes, because I think for both days he had just gotten off the clock. He had just gotten off of work, so he showed up in a suit. It was a really nice suit though. It fit him perfectly. It looked really, really nice. But yeah, I don't know if that would necessarily represent his sense of style. Do you know what I mean? Because it's more like an obligation. Yeah, he had just clocked out of work before he met us. I could tell that he cared about that kind of thing, because even though it was like a work thing, even though it was a work outfit, it was nice. It was well assembled. It looked right on him. Yeah, his style is employed, I guess. We've talked about this from time to time. I'm really, really into men's formal wear. I think it's my favorite genre or style of clothes. Zeal is... I'm trying to think of how to describe the nuance for him, because I've actually met him before. We've hung out before this off stream, but I'm trying to think of something that will be good for you to know. I know you're gobbling. I know you're chomping at the bit to get this information. I think he is about, as far as vibes go, right? I think he's about the same as he is on stream. Here's the thing. For Zeal, the way Zeal is in a group of 2 or 3 is one thing, but the way Zeal is in a group of 4+ is a very different thing. Do you know what I mean? And I think you may witness the same in on-stream collabs. Yeah, I feel like when the group number gets bigger, he's more of a listener than a talker. You have to kind of keep an open ear to see when he's going to chime in a good joke. So I think for most of the group stuff, he was more just kind of, he was vibing, you know? He's in the moment, not a phone in sight, planning things. I don't know about that, but I think when he's in bigger company, like groups of people, he tends to live in the moment rather than, you know, really cause a scene. I tend to be the opposite. I'm an attention, like I need all the attention. I'm a glutton for attention. When I'm in a big group, I need everybody to look at me. Yeah, you got it. He's exactly that emoji. He's there like the relieved emoji, like, yeah, he's just like, Like that's most of how the conversations would go as a group. He'd be like, That might honestly be what you expect. Though I did get to spend some time alone with him as well on the second day. And I will say that's also... I want to say that's just about what it is on stream too. Though I will say, for your perspective, especially when it's him and me specifically, he is very different when there is somebody there to listen. Do you know what I mean? I think when there's not an audience, he's goofy and silly in a different way, I guess. and more eager to like to share stuff, I think, rather than embarrass me in front of everybody. Yeah, whenever he's like messing with me, that is entirely for you rather than for me. That happens about 1000% less when you are not also in the room where it happened. His style, I will say that off the clock, he dresses very differently than on the clock. 'Cause, you know, on the clock, we all got our cool uniforms. He's got his snazzy suspenders. I love a good pair of suspenders. I'm a big fan of wearing those in my downtime, actually. But in his downtime, I think he dresses kind of like, he's almost like a snapshot, is what I'll say. He's like a snapshot of a bygone era, the early 2000s to the 2010s. That's what I'll say. I think he dresses like somebody in a Disney Channel TV show. I think he dresses like, how do I put it? Calling him old. No. I'm saying that he has a very historic sense of fashion. I think saying he dresses like a Disney Channel actor is a pretty good way to put it. Because, you know, he's got the jeans, he's got a t-shirt on, and he's got a flannel over that maybe. Or like a jacket over that, or a hoodie over that. That's it. And I will say, it was balls cold. It was so cold there. I was freezing to death. And I was wearing like 6 layers. That's an exaggeration. I was wearing an inner t-shirt, and I was wearing a dress shirt, and then I was wearing a sweater, and then I was wearing a coat. So that's basically 6 layers, because my coat is actually a 2-layer coat. But anyway, yeah, no, it was freezing. Honestly, I admire him, and I wish that I could handle the same, because I grew up with the cold. I grew up in an area that gets some pretty heavy snow. I'm very weak to it. I don't have the same endurance. I don't have the same, I don't know what it is. I just can't handle it like he can. He was out there balling in 2 layers like it was nothing. I want what he has. It suits him though. It suits him though. When you see him in it, it's so him. Yeah, that's how I would describe his style. I think it would be casual, but specifically in a way that kind of reminds me of like high school TV shows. Does that make sense? He dresses like a student in a high school TV show as an adult. That's what I would say. And it absolutely suits him.